Alright, welcome back folks to another tutorial in Maya. So for this tutorial we're going to go over Mia material shaders. Basically this is the result of a Mia material shader incorporated onto an object. And as you can see, I've just created a really simple scene, and with the physical sun and sky node along with a simple plane and a really cool reflection, I was able to achieve something like this. And you might be thinking to yourself, this must have taken a lot of time to create. Well, in all actuality, it really didn't take that much time. So if you just follow this tutorial on how I did it, I'm sure you'll be surprised how short it takes. But I'm going to probably go over a lot of points, so it might be kind of a long video in essence. But yeah, stick with me though. It's definitely worth it in the end. So this is kind of just a simple scene. You know, I created a sphere. And then I just created a nice polygon plane, you know, nothing really too convoluted. And then you got your physical sun and sky node, and then you're just creating this nice shadow, and then this really cool, awesome, glossy feel like shadow incorporated into the object of the plane. So this is something you get, and I'm rendering this out in 1280 by 720, so it's a good, really nice resolution. Now, however, I'm probably not going to duplicate this scene per se through the video, but I think I'm just going to create something a little different. But you can obviously follow along, and I'm going to probably lead to this end result by the end of this video. So alright, well, without further ado, let's get started. So let me just exit out of here, and as you can see, it's just a really simple scene, nothing really too complicated. Alright, so I'm going to create a new scene. Alright, and there we go. Alright, so first thing, obviously, create a polygon plane, 5 for shaded. I've noticed that nobody really uses a lot of hotkeys in Maya, or some tutorials I've watched. A lot of people don't really know shortcuts, so get into the habit of using shortcuts. So, you know, so basically if you want to create an object really easily, shift click, shift right click, let's create a torus, and there you go. So you don't have to like keep resorting back to pressing the buttons. Alright, so we'll create like sort of like a ring this time. So I guess we'll go into our inputs. Let's make this at maybe like at 50 for the subdivision axis and the height, so we can get a nice really smooth ring, so to speak. And then I'll rotate this 90 degrees on the x-axis, and then just sort of, I guess, bring this out a little bit and make it sort of like a ring finger you would wear on your, you know, on a finger. So a little bit too big. Probably just squeeze it down a bit. So, you know, something like that. That's pretty cool. So once you have sort of something similar to this object, you don't have to be exact. You can obviously you know, reference a different object like a sphere or a cube or any object you would prefer. So you don't necessarily have to follow this verbatim, but if you want, you know, the freedom's all yours. Alright, so before I do anything, let me just zero all these out, and then I'll raise this up a bit to about, I don't know, maybe about that far off the ground. And then for the same thing for the plane, just zero all that out. There you go. So now everything is in the middle and squared away and ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually try to assign the Mia material to our object. So let's go to Window, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Okay, so once you have this open, go to your Mental Ray tab, and it gives you a wide sort of options, you know, a wide variety of options you can go with. Now, if you don't have Mental Ray, you know, showing up in your Hypershade, all you have to do is go to Window, Setting Preferences, Plugin Manager, and then just go to, let's see, Maya to MR, Maya to Mental Ray, and then just load that up. Alright, so we're going to experiment with this just Mia material shader here. So we'll just press the Mia material X. So we'll press this twice, so once and then twice. Alright, so we have 2 of these ready to go. Okay, so we'll just kind of drag it off to the side, and then we'll select our object. We'll name this ring, and then we'll name this ground plane. So there you go. So now we've named our objects, and now we're ready to start, rolling here. So first thing we can probably do is, I guess, assign the material to the object. So select the object. You can do this, or if you don't want to get your hypershade open, you can right click and hold assign existing material, assign to material material x1. There you go. Same thing for the ground, except assign this to the second node, to the second one. So select that and assign. There you go. Okay, so once you have assigned the materials to the objects, we're then going to go into our render settings. Make sure you're on mental ray. Okay. And then for the quality, image size, we'll just leave it at 640 by 480 for now. We're going to increase it later. We're going to go to quality, and then we're going to increase this to our production quality. That's your highest setting. And then go to indirect lighting, and you're going to turn on global illumination and final gathering. Alright, and now for the next part, we have to turn on physical sun and sky. The reason why we're going to turn this node on is because in order for the Mia material to really stand out in this scene, we really want to incorporate the physical sun and sky, because that's what's going to give its reflection off the material of the object. So we'll just create that and then close your render settings. Okay, so once you have that set, let's do a quick render. So before I do, let me just sort of try to bend this over, or try to rotate it a little bit. No way, hold on. So I don't know, something maybe like this, like that. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's do a quick render. Alright, here we go. Alright, so, only 11 seconds to render, but as you can see, the Mia material, if you kind of zoom in here, it shows sort of a reflection off of the ground plane that we have. And the physical sun and sky has allowed, our object to really stand out with the sun beating down on the object, creating this really nice shadow. Not the best shadow, obviously. I don't know why I said really nice, but just an average shadow. And you can't really see on the ground plane, but once we go into the details or adding in the presets to it, it's going to make this really stand out in a way. So alright, so we'll just kind of exit out of here, because we're going to increase the image quality for this. So why don't we go ahead and just do that right now. So go to your render settings, common, go down to your presets. Let's go to 720 or 1080. I'd probably do 720 because I don't want to spend all day rendering. So okay, and then let's do the same thing. Let's do another render. And as you can see, you can tell that you can get that nice detail right there with the reflection of the sun, with the physical sun and sky node. So, but we still kind of would like to make this stand out a little bit more, because just a white color is just average, and we want something a little bit nicer here. So we'll just keep this image for now, so let's keep it, and then we'll just exit out of the render view. And then for the next part, we're going to select our object, and we're going to go into our Mia material options here. And you can see we have a wide sort of options here. You got anisotropy, advanced refraction, indirect illumination options, ambient occlusion. Go into our settings here, and we'll go into the presets here. And let's assign this a chrome, so I think that would make this really stand out. Okay, so without further ado, let's do another render, and let's see what happens. So assigning this Mia material to a chrome will really bring out some cool results. And as you can see already, we've already gotten some really fascinating results with the chrome here. So just let this render out a little bit more, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, we get some really funky designs inside the ring, because we have the ring tilted at such an angle that the sun is reflecting the shadows and the reflection off of the ring of the horizon and above the image plane here. So, But yeah, that's something we can, definitely say is pretty cool to, kind of experiment with and just to see what we can do with. So we'll just kind of keep that, and we'll just go back with our images and just see exactly what we've gone with. So, and something like that. Well, we notice, however, that the ground plane really isn't doing much. It's just still a white color here. So why don't we go ahead and do the same thing. Let's go to presets, and we got tons of presets here. So you can go all crazy with this. But for now, I guess we can go with maybe a copper, and we'll just replace it all. Okay, so once we have that setting, let's do one more render and see what we get for this. And this is kind of really where I left off with at the beginning of the tutorial, but with just the sphere. And as you can see right now, we have something a little bit more interesting here. Now we have this really strong reflection of the copper reflecting right off of the ring here. So it's pretty cool what you can achieve with just these simple shaders, and it's really interesting what you can do with these materials, these Mia materials, and it's really cool, and it's really makes the imaging or the objects really stand out a little bit more. So maybe I'll go ahead and maybe sort of rotate this a little bit more and see what we get. So basically went from this to that, so there you go. So maybe for now I can probably even just go into my settings here and then just maybe zero these out right here, and then let's do one more render and see what we have after that, because it was a little bit weird at coming at an angle, so I figured I would just zero out the object and then have you see it at a nice frontal view. The render settings, yeah, it does take a little longer to get through these, but at the same time I think it's generally worth it in the end, because then you can achieve something far exceeding your expectations. So we're already getting some pretty cool results with this Mia material. I mean, obviously the physical sun and sky plays a huge role in this, so that's probably another factor to it. But still, though, I mean, just this material, this chrome material, really makes it stand out. All right, so we'll keep this image as well, and then what we're going to do is exit out of the render settings, and then just kind of maybe zoom out and take a look at what we have for the copper settings for the ground plane. So hopefully this shouldn't take as long of a render. So, but when we zoom out, though, we can actually see exactly the full scale frontal view of the reflection of the copper onto the ring here. So, and we can actually go and tweak this a bit if we wanted to make this a really sharper shine compared to a dull one. I mean, I prefer the dull shine. I prefer it with that compared to a real sharp, shiny shine that almost looks like you're in the water here. But I mean, just this right here, I mean, the render times decreased dramatically, but you can tell that we have this really cool effect here. So right around there. Alright, so we will just exit out of this. Oops, forgot to save it. And let's see, we'll go ahead and save the image. And then for the copper Mia material, we'll go ahead into our settings here and go into the glossiness. And right now it's standing at a 0.4, so if we want to, we can go ahead and maybe tweak this to maybe a 1, and then we'll see what happens. So let's do another render, and then we'll see the result of what happens when we increase the glossiness to a 1, and you can totally tell a difference. You now can actually see the reflection off of the ground plane and see the full extent of the ring reflecting right off this ground plane. So that's basically what you get when you increase the glossiness of it. And render times decrease by at least 12 seconds here, but still though, it's still a little bit too to me it's like it's way too strong of a glossy shine, because then it just kind of takes away from the illusion or sort of the realistic look to a reflection off of it. So I mean, it is kind of cool, but at the same time a little bit unnecessary for this strong of a shine. So I mean, when we keep the image and go back and forth from what we have, we can just sort of see that we go from like this to that. So kind of unnecessary, but it's still kind of cool. So we'll just take this back, we'll go back to our glossiness and maybe bring it back to maybe 0.5 or something. And then you can go ahead and tweak some of these you know, options here yourself, however you want. And we can just kind of go from there. I mean, you don't even have to go with a copper. I mean, if you want, you can go with a frosted glass. Let's see what happens when we go with a frosted glass. I've never really even tried this out, but I figured I would and give you some results. No, I don't know, not really doing much with it. I mean, you would think that it probably would make this sort of like a snow-colored look. I mean, I don't know, it's not really doing much. Maybe we just gotta wait for the render time. Obviously, this is taking a lot longer than expected, but you know, this is what you get when you are experimenting with these high-res, you know, mental ray materials. So, no, nothing really much. Kind of boring. Maybe if we go back and tweak some of the options here. I don't know if we go with like a light blue or something. Let's see if that works. And still, I'm looking at it now, still not really doing much, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just escape. So probably not a good preset. Maybe you'd have to really, you know, go ahead and try to really bring this out more, but not really one of my favorites. A glossy finish, you could go with that, see what that does. You know, there's tons of presets available with this, so I mean, obviously all the options vary. So just seems like it's just another white background with just more of a reflection to it. You know, the render times do take a lot longer, but since we're kind of close, we're farther away, it doesn't take as long. So yeah, still not really digging that one. So I mean, you can go ahead and I guess, I don't know, we can go with maybe a pearl finish or sainted metal. I don't know, sainted metal. We'll go with one more. I don't want to spend all day just going over each material for you guys to decide which one you want. This looks a little more interesting. I'm not really sure. It's just, I mean, it's supposed to reflect a metal here, but I don't know. I guess chrome and metal wouldn't really give us much of a look here. So this one's going to take a little bit more of a render time. So, but I guess you guys get the point of it. So let me just render this one out, and then we'll go from here. So, you know, the shadow, the reflection right here is a little soft. We probably have to increase it a little bit, but not too much. But at the same time, though, it kind of takes away from the effect of the chromeness of the ring. So I guess it doesn't really work for us. So it sort of takes it away. So I think for now we'll just keep it at copper. And then for color-wise, you know, you can change this whatever you want. And then just for the ring itself, you know, you could just twist this around until you get a really nice looking object, or you like it exactly how you want it. You know, you can get a different angle, so to speak. So, but just to really emphasize sort of the light and this physical sun and sky of this ring. So, but yeah, once you have that, though, it really gives you a cool effect here. So, just sort of waiting for the render time to continue. So, I mean, I sort of like this. I mean, I kind of like just the atmosphere around it and how it really reflects off of this, of the chrome preset. So, something like that. Alright, so there we go. Okay, so I think we'll probably just stop it for here. But I know we kind of went from like maybe this, and then we just went from this all the way to this. So you don't have to go with the chrome. You can obviously go with something else. If you wanted to go with maybe a different color, you obviously can do that. So all you have to do is select your material, color. You know, if you wanted to make it yellow of some sort, you know, we can probably maybe just do a quick render of what it looks like instead of having to render the entire thing. I don't know, it doesn't really emphasize it that well, so I guess we'll just have to do a full scale render and see if the yellow kind of breaks the ring any better or not. So, you know, that helps it a little bit. Not amazingly, but you know, if you wanted to add some cool colors to it, you could do that. So, and it's just for the render times. You know, that's the only downside. But you know, I know I'm repeating myself quite extensively, but still, can't help but notice it when you try to render this out. So, but with the physical sun and sky and all this stuff in the scene here, you know, it does take up a lot of memory, so it's going to take a while. Alright, and there we go. So I think we'll call this the video. So we went for something like this, and then we went with that. So, you know, go ahead and experiment, see what you want, like what you prefer. Yeah, there's obviously more presets available to it, so you're not restricted to just Chrome. But I kind of like this a little better. The yellow doesn't really do it for me. I mean, if it was like a darker background, maybe the yellow would stand out more. But obviously, this is just for this tutorial. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this one. Go ahead and experiment with Mia Material X, and if you have any questions, let me know. If I've missed something, or if there's anything I should have added in, let me know. Otherwise, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and yeah, so enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one.